to talk more about the first step of the stroke. So I've broken it up into 4 parts. There's the hinge, the catch, the power, and the release. So in this part, I'd like to talk more about the hinge. So I've broken up the hinge into several subparts. So there's the start position. Then there's the hinging forward about 20 degrees. And you want your back straight with your head in line with your back. Hinging forward, and then you want an upper thoracic rotation as you shoot your bottom hand forward. Okay. You're shooting your bottom hand forward and pointing with that bottom hand, and it should be parallel with the gunnels and pointing towards the nose of the canoe. And when you hinge forward, you want to thrust that hand at the last portion. Thrust and point. Thrust and point that hand forward. So it's coming up forward and thrusting. Coming up forward and thrusting. So when you're thrusting forward, you're rotating, you're providing an upper thoracic turn of your shoulders. We start from the start position. And in the start position, you want your hands almost parallel with each other. And your elbow can be bent or it can be straight on the start position. So normally people, it's straight as they're still in the water. They have this quarter turn back, and then they lift at the back end, and then they start their stroke. So as we start, we're going to hinge forward and shoot our hands straight out. So the straighter you get this and the more parallel with the gunnels, the better. When you throw your arm forward, your lower arm forward and point, you want to lock your elbow. So lock your elbow. So at the end, you're thrusting forward, making that quarter turn twist and locking your elbow. And you're rotating the top hand over to stack them on top of the bottom hand over the gunnel. Now one of the most important parts of the hinge is the movement of your paddle forward with your arm as well as your upper body mass as you're hinging. You want to transfer that energy of that movement into the canoe to make it go forward. So as you go forward, you're shifting your weight off your butt and onto your feet and transferring that kinetic energy through your heels of your feet and making the canoe go forward. I've dedicated an entire video to transferring the kinetic energy from the hinge to the canoe. Well, I strongly recommend you look at that video. We've talked about the start position, we've talked about the hinge and the upper back thoracic turn, quarter turn, we've talked about pointing, and we've talked about the thrust at the end of that hinge and the quarter turn rotation. Okay? So you also want to keep at the end of that, the top hand shouldn't be more than a fist length above your head. Okay? And the top arm can be as straight as possible, or it can be bent. Okay? The object at this point, at the point of the hinge, is have the hands in position, that top hand in position to brace once we get down to the catch. So there are several ways of protecting your back. One is by taking a breath as you hinge forward to help stiffen your back. As your lungs fill, it helps to stiffen your back. The other thing is you want to have your foot position such that you're getting ready for the leverage against your hips and pushing to your heels. Okay? So you don't want to go way out here because your lower back is stressed. You want to be over your feet because you're going to be pulling against your foot. So you want that to feel comfortable. So only go out as far as it makes it comfortable and position your feet so that you have maximum leverage against your foot when you apply power. You want to protect your back. You want to hinge in a way that's normal. So you're hinging at the bottom of your vertebrae where it connects to your hip. That's what you're hinging. Don't hinge by arching your back. So don't hinge like this. Don't put your back in any other position than normal. That's straight up and down. You're relying on your core to connect your upper body with your hips and supporting your back to shoot it forward through your heels. So we don't want to excessively bend down. We don't want to hunch down. We want everything to be straight. We do not want to bob our heads. We don't want to shrug our shoulders, pushing our head down in between our shoulder blades. And we especially don't want to arch at the lower back. We don't want to rotate the hips up because any sort of movement that is not natural, because we do the same motion so many times over and over in a race. We're probably at 3,600 times. You know, that's a stroke once a second. So 3,600 times in an hour, we're doing this motion. So anything that's odd that you don't normally do will affect you eventually. And when you're younger, maybe it'll take longer. But especially a person of my age, I don't want to have back problems. So protect your back. Just move it naturally. You just want to keep it straight. And you want to improve your core to help your back, to assist it in shooting your hips forward as you push back. So you've got your weight over your feet and pushing forward, over your feet and pushing forward, over your feet and pushing forward. So don't hunch, don't shrug, don't bend your head forward, keep it straight up as you hinge forward. And your twist, when you do a quarter rotation turn, at the top of that hinge, make it the upper shoulders that are turning, not the lower back, like this. Don't expose your whole back. It's an upper shoulder turn. Upper shoulder turn. Upper shoulder turn. Upper shoulder turn. Don't overreach. So when you overreach, you're outreaching your leverage position with your feet. I mean, you're positioning yourself so that at your maximum catch, once we get down to the catch position, at your maximum catch position, your back feels comfortable. You don't feel overstressed at the lower part of your back. Okay, so a natural catch position, a natural hinge position when we get to the catch. That's what we're shooting for. So don't overreach. Don't try and do this, you know. If I try and do this, I could feel it in my lower back. Okay? You want a natural reach. So those are the ways to help your back during the hinge. And that's all I've got to say about the hinge.